President Obama has been, well, a bad fella, apparently trying to establish an anti-Trump shadow government from almost, well, the beginning of the Trump administration, and exposed now by one of his own cronies. A new book by former White House advisor Ben Rhodes, detailing how the President Obama, reached out to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and other international leaders after the 2016 election and the election of Donald Trump, urging those leaders to fight against President Trump and defend the values that they share. Joining us tonight, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, good to have you with us. Let's start with, well, first of all, I guess that was preparing the battleground, as some would say, for Obama as a shadow president and to create a shadow government and to create an international alliance to work against a sitting president. Is that not illegal?
Well, according to the Obama gang, who targeted General Flynn with a Logan Act potential violation, I don't know why it wouldn't apply to President Obama. Certainly undermining the government of the United States by working with foreign government leaders is the very basis of the Logan Act, or what Logan Act is designed to prohibit. But it just shows you just how hypocritical President Obama has been when you have his minions going out there and ambushing General Flynn based on the absurd notion that his contacts with the Russians in the presidential transition may have violated the Logan Act, while at the same time, all of his people know he's out there working with foreign leaders to undermine the president.
By the way, John,
it's par for the course with Obama. Remember, he was using the spy agencies of the federal government to target Donald Trump. It's no surprise he would take it up to the next level by conspiring with foreigners to go after him.
Oh, the reticence of the left in this country, the deep staters, and many in the national left-wing media, to acknowledge that a spy is a spy and want to use the word informant as that is somehow benign. This is a time when every reasonable person should be shaking their head at the laughable efforts to parse when caught in lies and when caught in nefarious activities like spying on a president and his campaign. This is somehow rationalization of inexcusable conduct, illegal conduct, it seems to me.
Well, and the spying, we don't know that it ended with the campaign. We believe, based on the public reports, that the individual who's been linked to the spying was in communication and was working in the Trump administration, or working on the Trump administration, trying to ensconce himself there. So this spy operation could have been, looks to me, was targeted not only at candidate Trump, but President Trump.
Yeah, it's stunning that we're sitting here going through this process right now.
And having to argue with Republicans in Congress who are pretending that it was perfectly normal. It was the height of illegality, in my view, for this to have gone on. And we got a bunch of water carriers in the Republican caucus for Mueller and the deep state.
Yeah, and I'm naming names here. I'm through with it. I mean, Trey Gowdy is a complete schizophrenic. He is absolutely in the service of the establishment and the deep state, whether intentionally, consciously, or purposefully. He is exactly that. And I am delighted that Congressman Ron DeSantis and a handful of others have stood up and called him out, calling his rationalization of putting a spy in the Trump campaign absolute balderdash.
For Congressman Gowdy, it's all been about protecting Robert Mueller. And Gowdy, I think, understands that Spygate goes to the heart of the Mueller operation in terms of destroying its credibility. That's why he's making excuses, because he knows by making excuses for Spygate, he's helping Mueller, who he supports unbelievably.
And we've got to hit the Imran Awan story, the case of the former Democratic information technology aide. It is an extraordinary case by itself. And remember, this was contemporaneous with Spygate and the onset of the Special Counsel on Russian collusion. We knew, in fact, that there had been an attack on U.S. servers in the U.S. House of Representatives, the Democrats, and not a thing has happened. In the entire time over that, it has been, that prosecution has been halted, even though they know who did what, and they have them all within, they've been apprehended, but not moved to trial and prosecution. Why not?
Well, because this is about Congress, and it's about protecting the Democrats in Congress and the Republicans who.
But the Republicans control Congress, and they control the White House. I mean, they control the Senate.
Republicans don't want anyone looking at their personnel practices. Remember, all the Democrats did, they had all of these, the Awan brothers gang, working in their offices, not doing any work, but being paid paid with taxpayer dollars. Nevertheless,
they were entering servers without authorization, taking, and these included members of the Intelligence Committee, the Oversight Committee. It goes on and on.
Actually performing IT services for the Democrats, 40 Democrats at least, from Pakistan for months at a time. And, you know, we hear the Russians hacked the DNC and Democrat servers. Were the Pakistanis doing the same thing? Is Mueller investigating this? I doubt it.
No. And the reason why, it's going to be, I can't wait to get the answer about why. We're going to pursue it just as we know Judicial Watch is. And again, for that, we thank you as well and your organization. Tom Fitton, thanks for being here.
Ever notice how sometimes the biggest stories get the least coverage? Something transformative happens that changes everything and nobody notices? Well, it's happened here. For the last 2 years or so, the rest of us have watched as the Democratic Party has been utterly transformed into something totally different. What was once the stodgy headquarters of the center-left establishment, the party of Harry Reid and Steny Hoyer and guys like that, now looks like a scene out of Burning Man, so far without the nudity. Starting on Inauguration Day, Democrats erupted in a primal scream, and they have not yet stopped yelling. Everything changed once Trump got elected. Celebrities threatened to abandon this country. Business leaders started behaving like political activists. Candidates for office embraced positions so extreme that they'd rejected them just months before. News reporters became rigid propagandists. And then, weirdest of all, comedians lost their sense of humor. Here, for example, is deeply unfunny comedian Samantha Bee lecturing America about Ivanka Trump last night. Watch.
You know, Ivanka, that's a beautiful photo of you and your child, but let me just say, one mother to another, do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless. He listens to you. Put on something tight and low cut and tell your father to stop it.
A dumb person's political harangue masquerading as comedy. Well, profoundly sad filmmaker Michael Moore proclaimed all what you just saw, quote, brilliant. He called Samantha Bee a truth teller. Comedian Billy Eichner wrote on Twitter he thought Bee was being, quote, generous. Tonight, Bee is receiving an award from the Television Academy for, quote, leveraging the dynamic power of television to inspire social change. Well, Samantha Bee later apologized for that on Twitter, assuming a tweet rates as an apology, but doubtless that's just temporary. She'll likely be bragging about all of this at another award ceremony very soon. Meanwhile, Kathy Griffin, who is probably the single unhappiest person in this country, used her appearance on a daytime show called The View to launch another political lecture. When White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders responded to that, Griffin wrote a profane tweet attacking Sarah Sanders. Blah, 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 blah. F you, basically. Where did Kathy Griffin learn to talk like that? Well, maybe from U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, who is now regularly using the F word in her public appearances. Here's one.
So what about President Trump? Has he kept any of these promises? No. No. Fundamentally, if we are not helping people, we should go the home.
Now, she's not the quickest of the U.S. senators, but even so, it says something broader about what's happening in the Democratic Party. So the left is arguing that Trump is radical. How have they responded? By becoming way more radical, by going completely off the edge. They say Trump is vulgar. Okay. So now they shout profanity on television and at campaign events. Amazingly, Trump has somehow convinced the Democratic Party to completely destroy itself. No one ever says that, but it may be the biggest change he has brought to this country. It's fascinating.